News Talk on Samar News, your go-to podcast for the latest headlines and in-depth discussions. Join us as we unravel the stories that matter most, bringing you insightful commentary and expert analysis. Tune in for thought-provoking conversations that spark dialogue and inspire action. Stay connected with the news that shapes our world, only on News Talk on Samar News.
Ready to cut through all the noise and really get a handle on a remarkable story in sports? I think you are, and we are too. We're diving deep into the incredible, truly against all odds, run of 19-year-old Filipina tennis player Alex Eala at the 2025 Miami Open.
It's a good one.
It is a good one. And we've got two key sources here that are going to paint the picture for us. Yeah. First, we've got an interview with Alex herself on Newswatch plus Sportswatch. And we've also got a news article from March 25th, 2025, highlighting her really historic achievements.
Yeah.
So our mission today is relatively simple. We want to understand how a wild card entrant, someone who wasn't even guaranteed a spot in this tournament, made history, and what inspiring lessons we can extract from her journey. And we want to do all this for you, the listener, so you grasp the essential insights without feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, and what really grabs you off the bat is just the unexpectedness of it all. I mean, she enters the Miami Open as a wild card, right? Yeah. Not even a seeded player, not ranked among the top going in. And as she said, in that Sportswatch interview, her initial aim wasn't even to make it to the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
It was much more about just focusing on the next opponent. She put it match by match.
Yeah, exactly. She said it in the interview. She said, I didn't expect to be in the quarterfinals, that's for sure. I just try to take it match by match. And, this really boils down to that present moment focus,
Right.
Forgetting about everything that's happened before, forgetting about everything that might happen in the future, just focusing on what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't just her own, internal grit and determination. She specifically credited her coach and her team for constantly reinforcing her self-belief.
Yeah.
She, in fact, called that belief her biggest driving force.
Yeah.
Let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
It's more than just a nice sentiment, right?
Mm-hmm.
This unwavering self-belief against seasoned top-tier players. That's a tangible weapon, I think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think when we think about how that translates beyond even the tennis court, that kind of foundational self-belief, especially when nurtured by a network of support like she clearly has, is often the crucial difference maker when you're facing your own high-stakes situations.
Mm-hmm.
It's what allows you to really access those skills and all the training that you've put in, even under pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, it wasn't solely a mental game here.
Yeah.
Eala also highlighted some key physical developments.
Yeah.
She specifically mentioned her increased endurance and improved leg speed as really crucial factors in this run.
Mm-hmm.
These might seem like kind of the less glamorous aspects of an athlete's training, but they're the fundamental building blocks of elite performance.
That's right. And it's particularly insightful, I think, how she links those physical improvements directly to her mental game. She talked about these small moments during the match where that extra bit of endurance allowed her to maintain focus and trust in her shots just a little bit more consistently.
Right.
It's not even just about hitting the ball harder. It's about, sustaining a higher level of performance for longer, which then feeds back into that crucial self-belief in tight situations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, speaking of these tight, high-pressure situations, they definitely arrived when she started facing Grand Slam champions. Her victory against Jelena Ostapenko, the 25 seed, was a nail-biter. It went 7-6, 7-5.
Close one.
Yeah, it was a close one. But what really stood out to me from her interview was her mindset stepping onto that court,
Yeah.
She said her mentality was to genuinely believe that she could win from the first point, even against, a decorated player like Ostapenko.
Yeah.
That requires an incredible level of mental fortitude, particularly when she acknowledged that this was a new level of opponent for her.
It really does. And it's not just an interesting anecdote that, Rafael Nadal, who, is her idol and who she trains with at his academy, publicly congratulated her on social media, right?
Nice.
It really underscores, I think, the the significance of that victory within the tennis world. And it also, I think, signals the recognition of her burgeoning talent from one of the legends of the sport.
Right.
So it's a powerful moment of validation for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And then came the match against Madison Keys, the number 5 seed, and reigning Australian Open champion.
Wow.
So here's where it gets really interesting. Eala mentioned that her team gave her a very specific piece of advice going into this match, and that was to be humble on the court. And she explained that this mindset actually helped her to chase down every ball and accept that she wasn't going to win every single point.
Right.
I mean, that's a remarkably mature and strategic perspective for a 19-year-old who's facing, such a dominant player.
Yeah, it really is. It's that humility can actually be a tremendous source of strength, in competition, by accepting, the opponent's quality and really just focusing on effort,
Right.
rather than expecting to play flawlessly. It frees the athlete to compete with greater resilience and less internal pressure.
Yeah.
It's really all about staying in the moment and fighting for every point.
Yeah. And she clearly embodied that resilience. She even mentioned that she had a slight disturbance with her left thigh at the end of the first set.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But she kind of brushed it off. It wasn't like a major concern. But despite that, she got a really convincing victory, 6-4, 6-2. And this wasn't just another win. This made her the first Filipina ever to defeat a top 5 player in the WTA rankings. The news article even quoted Keys as saying that, Eala was just incredible after the match. Yeah, think about that for a moment. Like a reigning Grand Slam champion, acknowledging her opponent in those terms.
Which I think speaks to the caliber of Eala's performance here, to not just beat a top 5 player, but to elicit that kind of a reaction from someone at the pinnacle of the sport. I mean, that speaks volumes about her skill level and her execution that day. It wasn't just luck. It was truly high-level tennis on display.
Yeah. And her strategy against Keys I found really fascinating in its simplicity. She said her game plan was basically to stick to her fundamental strengths.
Okay.
She said, what I know, and to essentially outwork Keys to run. She knew her opponent was a powerful hitter. And so she just had to be ready to pounce on any openings.
Yeah.
And it almost sounds too basic,
Right.
But sometimes the most effective strategies are those that just leverage your own core abilities and exploit the inherent challenges of facing a power player.
Yeah, precisely. It's about smart tennis as much as it's about, powerful tennis, right? And recognizing your opponent's strengths and weaknesses, and then adapting your own game while staying true to your foundational skills. I mean, that's the hallmark of truly elite athletes.
Yeah, yeah. Now, these victories weren't just personal milestones for Alex. They were historic moments for Philippine tennis.
Yeah.
Eala became the first player from the Philippines to reach the quarterfinals of a WTA 1000 tournament in the Open era.
Yeah.
The news article goes on to emphasize that she's also the first Filipina to reach the quarterfinals at any major WTA event. And incredibly, the only Filipino player, male or female, currently holding a world ranking in professional tennis.
Wow.
The interviewer on Sports Watch even dubbed her the giant slayer from the Philippines.
That's great.
What a title.
Yeah. Man. I mean, what's really significant for you to understand, I think, is the weight of that history. You know, to be the first to achieve these milestones for your nation. I mean, that adds an extra layer of pressure, undoubtedly.
Right.
But also this immense sense of national pride, and she really has the potential to inspire an entire generation of young athletes back home. It's bigger than her at this point.
Yeah, yeah. And Eala herself, in the interview, seemed somewhat taken aback by all of it.
Right.
She admitted to feeling like she was in a bubble and hadn't really fully grasped the magnitude of her achievements yet.
Right.
I mean, that's completely understandable. I mean, given the intense focus required to compete at this level and the rapid succession of these really career-defining wins.
Yeah. I mean, that ability to stay present,
right.
and not get too caught up in those external expectations or even past successes, That's a really crucial trait for anyone performing at a high level. It allows you to really just keep that laser focus on those immediate challenges and prevents you from getting bogged down by the enormity of it all, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of focus, her top priority, she said this unequivocally, is her tennis, you know.
Yeah.
And her matches, everything else takes a backseat to that.
Yeah.
You know, she said staying closely connected with her team helps her to remain grounded, and that the relentless cycle of recovery and preparation, leaves very little time to fully process everything that's happening.
That's right.
That kind of dedication is really rare to see, but it's clearly essential at this level.
Absolutely. I mean, that level of commitment and the discipline to prioritize recovery and preparation, I mean, those are non-negotiables for sustained success in a sport as demanding as professional tennis.
Right.
It's the often unseen hours of work behind the scenes that ultimately make the difference come match day.
Yeah. Yeah. And she offered kind of a little glimpse into her pre-match routine. You know, it involves a comprehensive warm-up and post-match recovery. And she uses music to help manage her mental state.
Interesting.
You know, she'll go for more upbeat tunes if she's feeling nervous, faster tempos if she's already in the zone. And crucially, she writes down her specific goals and key reminders for the upcoming match.
Oh, wow.
And reviews those with her coach. That's really a structured and deliberate approach to mental preparation.
Yeah.
Something that that you could apply in your own high stakes situations.
Right.
I mean, it really highlights the critical interplay between the physical and the mental. By setting those clear intentions and having those predefined focus points, she's entering each match with this heightened sense of purpose and a clear understanding of what she needs to execute, regardless of who's on the other side of the net.
Yeah, I mean it's fascinating to see how these elite performers think about the game.
Given her training at the very prestigious Rafa Nadal Academy, it's particularly insightful that she mentioned learning that Nadal's biggest asset was also his mind, and especially his ability to perform under immense pressure, something that she actively tries to emulate.
Right. Right.
So that's a really powerful insight, I think, into the mindset of one of the all-time greats and how it's now influencing a rising star like Eala.
Yeah. It really underscores the idea that at the very highest level of any competition, that mental fortitude often becomes the ultimate difference maker. And learning firsthand from a champion like Nadal in that kind of environment would undoubtedly provide just invaluable lessons in mental toughness, and strategic thinking.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. She even had a brief encounter with her upcoming opponent in the quarterfinals, the world number 2, Iga Swiatek.
Wow.
She mentioned hitting with her once a couple years ago in Miami, but she kind of humorously downplayed it. She's like, I wouldn't exactly call Swiatek my hitting partner. She's like, it was probably the other way around.
Right.
But when it comes to preparing for specific opponents, she said her primary focus really remains on honing her own game. Mm-hmm. But she also considers the tactical aspects of her opponent's style.
Right.
So it's like this balanced strategy of self-reliance and opponent awareness.
It's a very mature and effective approach to competition. And while understanding your opponent's tendencies is valuable, that primary emphasis, I think, has to be on maximizing your strengths. Right. And executing your game plan. I mean, sometimes overthinking your opponent can be more detrimental than beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, looking to the future, her long-term ambitions are significant, right? Yeah. She wants to reach the very top of the sport, win Grand Slam titles, become the world number 1. Mm-hmm. But her immediate focus remains on realizing her full potential and becoming the best version of herself.
Right.
Which is really a healthy way, I think, to balance those big dreams with the present moment.
It is, yeah. And setting those big aspirational goals, it provides direction, right?
Right.
And sustained motivation, but concentrating on your own personal growth and maximizing your abilities in the present moment, that keeps you grounded and process oriented.
Yeah.
It becomes about the journey as much as the destination.
Yeah. Yeah. She also gave really heartfelt credit to the the unwavering support of her parents, and acknowledging their pivotal role and the sacrifices that they've made throughout her journey. And having grown up without any prominent Filipino role models in top-tier tennis, she now deeply hopes to inspire aspiring young players, in her own country. Her message to them, I think, is incredibly powerful and direct.
Yeah.
It's the fundamental importance of believing in themselves.
Yeah.
She said, and she said this emphatically, if you don't believe in yourselves, you're already taking your chances away.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a message that resonates far beyond the world of sports, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And that full circle moment where she's, transitioning from being this aspiring athlete without a clear blueprint to now becoming the inspiration for others.
Right.
I mean, that's one of the most compelling aspects of her whole story, and that core message about self-belief. I mean, that's so universal. It really transcends sports and impacts, any field of human endeavor.
Yeah. Yeah, as we know from the news reports, Ella was then set to face the formidable number 2 seed, Iga Swiatek in the quarterfinals.
Right.
An enormous challenge.
Yeah.
But as she so wisely put it, she views this entire remarkable run at the Miami Open as a significant good step towards where I want to be.
Right.
And that perspective, regardless of the outcome of her next match, really demonstrates, I think, a profound understanding of the long and often very unpredictable journey of professional sports.
Yeah. And every match at that elite level, I mean, it represents a really valuable learning opportunity.
Yeah.
And framing this incredible success that she's had as a step in that larger journey,
Yeah.
That showcases a really resilient and growth-oriented mindset, which is going to serve her well beyond tennis.
Absolutely. So let's try and crystallize the key takeaways here for you, the listener. Alex Eala's unforgettable run at the Miami Open was powered by this really potent combination of this unwavering self-belief,
Right.
that was nurtured by her dedicated team. Really significant physical conditioning, which led to this enhanced endurance and speed, remarkable mental toughness, which enabled her to triumph over, seasoned Grand Slam champions, and then just a really grounded long-term perspective centered on continuous improvement.
Yeah.
She's not just making history, she's providing, I think, a compelling blueprint for anyone who is striving for excellence.
Yeah, and what I think is particularly impactful is her journey as the first Filipina to achieve these really significant milestones in professional tennis. I mean, it illustrates the importance of representation and the profound impact that one individual's success can have on an entire nation's sporting aspirations and even collective pride.
Right. And for you, our listener, whether you're navigating challenges on the court or in your career or just in the everyday complexities of life, Alex Eala's unwavering focus on mindset, her meticulous preparation, and that deep-seated belief in her own capabilities offer really valuable and universally applicable lessons.
Absolutely. And it leads us to this crucial question for you to consider. Reflecting on Alex Eala's rapid ascent and her remarkable achievements, what personal Miami Open are you currently navigating in your own life? And how might adopting her principles of unwavering belief and that kind of focused action, how might that reshape your approach and ultimately your outcomes?
Yeah.
Consider the power of cultivating that kind of inner conviction in your own endeavors.
That's a great point to end on.
Yeah.
Really appreciate the insights.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Good to be here.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
News Talk on Samar News, your go-to podcast for the latest headlines and in-depth discussions. Join us as we unravel the stories that matter most, bringing you insightful commentary and expert analysis. Tune in for thought-provoking conversations that spark dialogue and inspire action. Stay connected with the news that shapes our world, only on News Talk on Samar News.